So in this video, we are going to be going over how to take a video file and convert it into an ISO file that can be read by Blu-ray discs, and then some options to get that ISO file onto Blu-ray discs. So to begin, you'll need some apps downloaded. These are all free apps that I will leave links to in the description. The first one being Ina, which is just a video player that lets you play any type of video file and also download some subtitles for that video. The second one is Handbrake, which is a video transcoder that will allow you to encode the video file into a format that is good for Blu-ray ISOs. The next software is MacGo Blu-ray Player Pro, which you just need to free download here. And all this is just to test the ISO once it's been created and make sure that everything is working before it's burned onto a disk. And then finally, we will need this open source app called tsMuxer to actually create the ISO, but this app for Mac cannot currently be downloaded in a working state, so we are going to build this app from source. First, you're going to want to make sure that you have the Homebrew package manager installed. I will leave a link in the description for a quick tutorial on how to install this. I won't show it because I already have it installed. And then you'll want to open your terminal and paste in just this all-in-one code that will build and install the app for you. It will install the necessary dependencies from Homebrew, build the app from source with some modifications so that it will actually be openable on modern Macs, and then move it to your application folder. And I won't run the code because, again, I already have this installed, but it will look like this. You just click enter. It should do everything for you. Feel free to vet the code yourself or anything like that. But yeah, this should just install the app, and then when it's done, there will be a folder left over in your home folder, which you can access by going Finder, Go, and Home with just some of the extra source code that was downloaded to build the app. And feel free to delete that once you verified that the tsMuxer app is in your applications folder. I will leave a link to this code here that you need to build the app from source in the description. So now you will want to take the MKV file of the film that you obtained by ripping your own Blu-ray copy and open it in Ina. And then once it's open, you can go and find a subtitle SRT file that works, and I'll leave a link in the description for a site where you can find these files, as well as an app that can help you if the timing is not correct and you can't find a way to offset them and get them to work. So then you'll just drag the subtitles in, verify that everything is working. If you end up needing to offset the subtitles and settings, make note of the amount of seconds, positive or negative, that you offset the subtitles by. I know for this file, they have to be offset by 1 second to be in sync with the video. Make note of this, and once you have verified that everything is working, you can close out of Ina and open Handbrake. Now in Handbrake, once you have verified that your subtitles and MKV file are both correct, you'll want to just drag in that MKV file, and then we will go through the necessary settings needed to encode this MKV file to be burned onto a Blu-ray ISO file and then a Blu-ray disc so that Blu-ray players can actually read it. Now on the Summary tab, you'll want to set the format to MKV, and you can leave this option checked. Then move on to Dimensions, where cropping should be set to None, anamorphic should be set to Automatic, and allow upscaling should not be checked. And then you want to make sure that under Final Dimensions, the storage size is set to 1920 by 1080. If the storage size is not set to this, the video file will not play on Blu-ray players, so you might have to play around with the borders here to get your video to the optimal size, but more often than not, the video will already be in the correct file size here. And then under Filters, you'll want to just set everything to off, as they are unnecessary and significantly increase the encoding time. Now under video encoder should be set to H.264, frame rate should be set to NTSC film, and constant frame rate. Color range should be set to limited. Encoder options, so preset should be set to slow or anything slower than that, but keep in mind that this will change the time it takes for the file to encode. Tune should be set to film, profile should be set to high, and level should be set to 4.1. Now under additional options, there's a string of text you need to paste in and hit enter to make this file fully compatible with Blu-ray players, and I will leave this string of text in the description. Now for quality, you'll want to set it to average bitrate, but this number here will depend on the actual length of your video file, because you want to make sure that the output of the video file, once it is encoded, is around 23.2 gigabytes. So you might have to do some research to find the correct number to enter here that will work for the length of your video, but I found that for a 2.5 hour film, 20,500 works well, and then for a 2 hour film, 22,000 works well. But again, this is dependent on the actual file you are uploading. But once you have this number, you can leave multipass encoding and turbo analysis pass checked. Now for audio, you'll want to make sure that the correct audio track is shown here. The codec should be set to AC3, mixdown should be set to 5.1, the sample rate should be set to 48, the bit rate should be set to 640, and those are all the settings needed for audio files. Now, if you have subtitles, only put them here if you want to burn them in. If you do not want the subtitles to be directly burned into the video, we can upload them to the Blu-ray ISO later, but let's say I want to make sure these subtitles are burned in. I would click the burned in checkmark here, and then the offset is where you enter the delay that you found in ENA earlier. So my offset was +1 second, meaning in milliseconds this would be +1000, and then I can just enter that in here, and now these subtitles will be burned in directly to the video file itself. And then now under chapters, you'll want to uncheck create chapter markers, but if there's a list of chapters here that you want to transfer over to your Blu-ray ISO, you can click export chapters and we will use those later once we are creating the ISO itself. Once you have verified that all of the settings are correct, you'll want to choose an output name and output location, which probably should not be your iCloud drive, and then hit start. Keep in mind that the encoding process can take a very long time, oftentimes maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours plus, but just make sure to leave your computer running and it will eventually complete. And then once it's complete, make sure to verify that the output file has a file size of around 23.2 gigabytes. If it's lower, that's also okay. Once you have the output MKV from Handbrake, first make sure that you verify the file size is around 23.2 gigabytes or lower. Also feel free to check the file again in ENA just to make sure that the quality is okay, and that if you had subtitles, they burned in correctly. But then you can take that file and you can drag it into tsMuxer, which is the app we're going to use to build the Blu-ray ISO file itself. So now if you also had subtitles that you did not burn in, you would drag them in here and adjust the delay if you needed to. But so the first thing that you'll want to do once you're in here is to make sure that Blu-ray ISO is selected and that always rebuild SEI and VUI data is checked, and continually insert SPS/PPS is checked. Now this is essential for making sure that the file can actually play on Blu-ray players. Now under the Blu-ray tab here, if you exported the chapter list from Handbrake, you'll first want to go into that CSV file and remove all extra data besides the timestamps in a simple list, and you can import those here if you would like, or you can have it insert chapters every 5 minutes, or you can just select no chapters if you would rather not deal with any of that, or you did not get a chapter file with your MKV. And then from there, you can go back to input, make sure you label your disk correctly, browse the correct output location and file name, and then once you've done all that, you can click Start Muxing, and an ISO file should be created. Now for the final step, once our ISO file has been created, you want to open the Blu-ray player app that we downloaded from earlier. It may say unregistered version. This is perfectly fine because we were just using it to test the ISO file. We don't actually need it to watch the file itself. So you'll want to drag in the file. And now to verify that everything is correct, first make sure that it plays. Then you'll want to verify that you can skip around throughout the video and everything works. Then here, if you added any subtitles, make sure they appear. If you added any chapters, make sure that they're all listed here. And then once you know that everything is working correct, you can fast forward throughout the video without any issues. You can skip chapter by chapter. There's no freezing, there's no audio delay or any of that. You know that you have successfully created a Blu-ray ISO file that can be burned onto a disc. And now we'll go over some options for getting this file onto the disc itself. Now there are applications to burn ISOs directly to Blu-ray discs, but Blu-ray drives are quite hard to come by and can often be expensive. So my preferred way to get the file onto a disk is to use a service called Kunaki, I think is how it's pronounced. This is not sponsored, it's just the best way I found to get a reliable Blu-ray disc based on a file I created myself. And so the way you do that is you just go onto their site, you click on Blu-ray, and then there's some general info here, but it'll have you create an account and then upload some disc art, case art, and I'll go over how I make this in a little bit later, but it's only around $8 to create a Blu-ray or a custom Blu-ray and have it shipped to your house. So it's really cheap, very cost effective, and I think personally is the best solution. Again, this isn't sponsored, this is just a service that I use. And for copyright reasons, I won't show the Blu-ray that I've created, but I'll leave a link in the description to some photos of it, just so you can see the quality and stuff like that. But this is what I would recommend if you don't want to get a disk drive or they're too expensive but still want to actually create your disk. Fair warning, when uploading the ISO file, it can take a very long time. I've had to leave my computer on for over 15 hours before just to get the file to upload, but it doesn't really fail, it just takes a while. And if you need to make sure your computer doesn't go to sleep, there is a good app in the App Store called Amphetamine that will make sure that the Mac stays awake. But yeah, this service is really great. And now I'll show some cases that I made using Affinity Photo. So typically what I'll do to create case art and disc art for custom Blu-rays is download these images directly from Kunaki itself, and then in Affinity Photo, which is a completely free photo editing software, I'll open a new project with these exact dimensions here, put this image down as the first layer, and then kind of build off of it. So it's a great way to just kind of lay out your art. I just kind of find a simple image, a logo online, and then I make sure that the spine is in the correct orientation and the correct position, and then I just download this as a JPEG and then upload it back into Kunaki here, and then I do this for the case, the cover sheet, the disc image, and then also sometimes I'll do a case insert, but oftentimes I'll also just leave that blank. But Affinity Photo is a really great, easy to use photo editing software, and yeah, all the things you need are right here on the site, and you can just design a simple case yourself. Now, since we are only using free software, there are some limitations with our Blu-ray file itself, meaning that using software like tsMuxer, you're unable to create a menu for the Blu-ray disc. Now, if you need a menu or like a menu, the only software I've found that's reasonably priced that can create a menu is lmao. I'm not completely sure how to say it, but there's two domains, there's a .org and a .com. Make sure that you navigate to the .org domain, and then on the site here, again, this is not sponsored, it's just the only product I've personally tried that worked well. I can't speak to all available products. I'm not sure if this is the best one. It's just an option that has worked for me that I can kind of recommend. Do not pay for anything up here. There's always a sale going on their site, which you can just click Get Now. And then once you're here, scroll down to Blu-ray Tools. And if the button to purchase doesn't work, you might have to open the link in a new tab and purchase it from there. But all you need here is a Blu-ray creator, and the software is pretty good. The menu creator is great, and you can customize it pretty well. You can choose menu music, background image, background video, but through this app you have very little quality over the actual file size and file quality. So you kind of just choose the Blu-ray disc here, and then you don't really have any say over how the output looks. So while yes, you are getting a menu with it, you have very little control over the actual quality itself once it's played on a player. So it's kind of a trade-off, and I haven't found any reasonably priced non-subscription software that can do this. Again, I mean, this software isn't super cheap, but it's worked for me. But personally, I don't find the menus as important, and I'd rather just make them using tsMuxer and the free tools that we used earlier. Hopefully you found this video helpful. I can personally say that all the steps in this video have worked for me. I followed all these steps exactly, sent the ISO to be made, and then the the disc played perfectly in my Blu-ray players. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try my best to answer. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully, yeah, you can just create Blu-ray discs of things that you want, anything, movies, videos, anything you want, because they're really great. They provide great options for high video quality that DVDs don't provide. And yeah, thank you for watching.